Welcome to the Z Files. So, if this is an object, that's an object. Then color is what we see as the light reflecting off this object and goes into our eye. So, different colors, what we see as different colors are really the differences of the wavelengths of the various light rays that are bouncing off this pair, for example, and going into our eye. And we see this as green, which reflects a particular area of the visual of the visual of the visible light spectrum. So this is a really important thing. Color is a system of differentiating different wavelengths of light. So the important thing is that color is a mental percept. It's not a physical quality, but it's a mental percept that we use to understand the world around us. So we were talking about visible light before. So basically, what visible light is a section of all radiation. So there's a spectrum of radiation which covers everything from cosmic rays to UV rays to microwaves to radio waves and so forth and so forth. So the visible spectrum is really just one area of of that entire spectrum, and we call it the visible spectrum because we see it. We see it as various colors, whereas towards the ends of the radiation spectrum, and I haven't drawn the entirety of it, we don't see anything. Well, we don't see what infrared is, and we don't see what UV light looks like. We don't have the mechanism to detect those radiations. So color processing has two steps. So they occur as firstly in the retinal processing and secondly in neural processing. So the retina is the back of the eye. So retinal processing occurs by cells called cones. And there's three types of cones that we all have, well, most people have: blue cones, green cones, and red cones. So the more types of cones that you have, the better the visual system differentiating different colors. So the three cones are like the antenna our system uses to perceive the world around us. The more antenna, the more our better approximation and appreciation of the world around us. And here's where the interesting part begins, because some people don't have these cones, or they don't have three cones. They may be missing one, or one may be defective. So in that case, the colors that they see would be different to what we see, because remember, color is just a system that our brain uses for us to differentiate between different wavelengths. And so if someone has, in our previous analogy, 2 antennas compared to 3 antenna, then basically the system of detecting color will be poorer with somebody with 3 antenna. And therefore, what we see, the colors that we see in an object would be different to what they see, because their mechanism is not the same as us. So if the detection system is different, then so is the result of what we see. The second part of the visual system is the neural processing. So that it takes the information from the retina and inputs them into a complex multi-layered visual system in the brain. So this system consists of neurons. So as you can see here, as we can see, the retinal information goes into the neural processing, and the output is what we see as color. Here's the interesting part in the neural processing system. The neural processing of color can be affected by different factors. So individual differences in these factors between different people can lead different people to see different colors for the same object. So here are various factors that could mean that the color perception of one person would be different to another if these factors were different between two people. So the first thing is habits. We all have habits, and habits die hard. So the way we see the world, the way we experience it, the things that we see, the things that we are around, different people are around different things, they're around different environments, and so our expectations and our habits really can sometimes affect what we see, because we see what we tend to see. Background illumination is another factor as well. So the illumination coming and illuminating the object that we're looking on can also change the color of what we see. What we see is color, so different people with different background illumination could see the color of the object is different. Background color, so the colors that the object is next to or surrounded by can also affect the perception of that color. So that's because of the way that our cells work. So something called bipolar and ganglion cells. So the way that they work is that they take information from not only the object but also from the areas around the object, and sometimes the interaction between the information gained from both areas can actually determine what we see as the color of the actual target object. And also the last thing is that sometimes our system doesn't know which mode it uses. So our visual system operates either in two modes: the photopic system or the scotopic system. So the photopic system is the visual system used when we're in high light conditions such as daylight, and the scotopic vision is what is used when we're in low light conditions such as darkness. So in scotopic vision, we don't actually use the rods, we don't actually use the cones anymore. Beg your pardon, we actually use something called the rods. So they're another type of cells. So the colors that we would identify a change based on what system we're using. And I think in the example of the dress that's going around everywhere online and why different people are seeing different things, I think part of the reason is that sometimes our brain is confused. It doesn't sometimes it doesn't know which system to use. Sometimes it can be in a transition between the two modes. Sometimes, and they could be at varying degrees of transition. So based on that level of where the person sits in terms of what system they're using for topic or scotopic, that could also account for different colors being perceived by different people, because their systems are at different stages. And before we wrap up the talk about colors, we also just wanted to talk about something very important as well, and this affects us all, and this is of course time. So time is really important and interesting, because it turns out that not only is color relative, but so is time. Time depends on factors like velocity and gravity. So here's a really famous example called the twin paradox. So what we have in this hypothetical is two twins, identical twins. One twin stays on Earth. One twin flies off into space, traveling at very, very high speeds. So the twin in the spaceship has a clock, and the twin back on the Earth also has a clock. So when the clock indicates that 1 year has passed for the twin on the spaceship, so the spaceship clock shows that 1 year has passed, and when twin 1 returns to Earth, he finds out that maybe 1.2 years of time has passed back on the Earth. So twin 1 has become younger than twin 2. Time has passed slower for him than his twin, and therefore their biological ages are no longer the same. One twin is literally slowed down time. The other situation in which time is affected is through gravity. So consider this really, really giant star. It's got a very high mass, and it's very, very dense. Hence, it creates a very strong gravitational field. And there are two planets. I don't know if you can see the second planet. It looks like a dot. So the first planet is a lot closer. It's orbiting the sun a lot closer than the second planet. So its gravitational field forces a drop off with distance. So the closer planet is affected by a much stronger gravitational field. So it could be that because of the different positions of these two planets, and therefore the different gravitational forces acting on them, it could be that maybe 10 years on planet 2 has passed compared to 1 year. So according to planet 1, a clock on planet 1, maybe 1 year passed. But if someone else simultaneously looks at the clock on planet 2, maybe 10 years has passed. So gravity slows down time as well, just like great velocities do. So I guess the most important thing is time is also relative, and time is a beginning, and time therefore could also have an end. But here's something interesting that you wouldn't find in most textbooks. How about that? Look at that. Time is progressing, but look at that. 1988 March 2nd, I wonder what happened then. As you can see, according to this very scientific diagram, the world awesomeness is 100%, but after that point in the space-time continuum, world awesomeness is increased to 110%. So to my fellow partner in crime, Zara, wishing a really happy birthday from Agent Z #1, and I hope that may every day bring you more blessings. I mean,